Never seen a smile so big on my little old lady's face until I tell her I'm going fishing all weekend. Pack up all of my bait and I make plans for 8:15 and I swing around, pick up my date for the weekend. Some reason she seems to please when I'm leaving. There's something I'm missing when I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing. When I'm gone fishing.
Yeah, baby.
Yes, sir. Couldn't agree more, Scott Burry. Let's go fishing. Tell you, it didn't feel like fishing weather this morning, unless, of course, you are still in love with your hard water season. It is certainly hanging on to the very last day. Ed McKenzie's in the house. Nice to see you, Ed. Jeremy's with us. Tony, how you doing, my friend? Sarah Jickerson. She hasn't seen ice for a little while down in the Windsor way. I'm sure they're out slaying perch and walleye. That I would imagine at this point they're starting to migrate. Sarah, give us a nod. Never mind. Give us a thumbs up if, in fact, the walleye have started to run to Detroit, because that is phenomenal. Migration, yearly migration, that just blows my mind how many walleye move up the Detroit River. It's in the millions. It's in the millions. I think it's like something like 19 million or 18 million. Hard to say, but it's in the millions. Jeanette, how we doing? Christina's in the house. Lloyd. Yeah, baby. David, nice to see you as well. Mike Howard's in the house. Mike, how are you? I hope all is well at the Howard household. Anthony Stevenson's with us. Nice to see you. Manny, haven't seen you in a while, buddy. How you doing? Nice to see you. Nice to see Terry as well. Nice to see all of you. You know, Jim was so worried. He's like, Scotty, you didn't do an ad today for CFN Live. Nobody's going to show up. I said, Jim, don't worry. We'll have 25 people, and there it is. 25. Jim, boom, right there. No, he wasn't worried. Unfortunately, much like maybe some of you, it was a really busy week and weekend. Didn't, unfortunately, get to a lot of my CFN duties. So if there are edits or something that you've passed along to me in Messenger, please, I will get to it. I apologize for not getting to it already. But needless to say, last week was crazy busy. And what I thought was going to be sort of an unwinding weekend was anything but. But anyway, needless to say, it's Monday. I'm here with you folks and fellas and lasses and ladies and gentlemen and kids of all ages. It's great being back every Monday, CFN Live. We've got so much to talk about with just a panel. I do want to remind you, and Yvonne, if you're watching, I apologize if I get this wrong, but I believe Yvonne is on next week for Ladies Night, but we're going to double check that. We've got some interesting guests coming up, much like the interesting guests we've already had, but they're even more interesting. No, I'm kidding. They're just as interesting. Also, of course, there's many announcements because it is getting to that season. There's a lot of events that's going to be going on in CFN land and OFC Nation that we will get to, and we will have the lads on to talk about and discuss. But this is sort of the lull before the blast off. And if you're putting away your hard water stuff and getting out your soft water stuff, you're in that transition like most of us are. You're looking forward to getting some of your trips planned. So let me either help or not help with that. First and foremost, I want to bring your attention to something that I played last week. I'm going to play again. Have a look. So really excited to be the face, if you will, of Walleye Wars. It is coming to Ontario, and as you saw, they are looking for a minimum of 100 anglers, and I don't know where they are, but at $250 and the payouts that are available daily, weekly, monthly, it seems they give out so much money to that tournament, and I know a few pretty, I would say, decorated wall anglers here in Ontario that I'm sure are chomping at the bit to get going. It's coming in June. Like, it's just around the corner. It's not that far away. So if you haven't entered, I invite you to do so. Payouts are going to be quite something. And I know there's a lot of walleye lovers on this page, in this community, and probably watching live. So if you're into it, Peelers, Anthony, you're not too bad, not too shabby here in Ontario yourself. So by all means, it's, as I said, it's worth it. If you're going to be fishing for walleye anyway, you can possibly enter for a chance to win. As I said, they give out prizes weekly. We'll be doing some posts, give you a little bit more information, but that's a good dusting for now. And of course, I can't talk enough about our upcoming retreats. This is so cool. Somebody said, Scotty, would you ever have thought that CFN would have 3 retreats? Absolutely not. I'm so happy that we've had a successful one for the last 3 years at Horwood Lake Lodge, and we're going to be doing the same again this year. But along with that are the additions, of course, of Jan Lake Lodge that is going to be going in July, and the great folks. We'll be talking to them as this date draws a little bit closer, so that we can learn a little bit more about the camp, what is in store for our retreaters that are going. And I know this for a fact, there is room now available. One family, I believe, pulled out. So there is room. In fact, there's room if we want to open up a second cottage, and Jan Lake won't know that until you contact them and book your spot in line. But as it is right now, I do believe there is one cabin completely full with retreaters. So that's exciting. We're looking forward to that. And of course, so that's Jan Lake out in Saskatchewan. That's going to be in July. We'll be making posts about that to get that to you as well. If you're looking to go from here or somewhere else, we'll get all that information. We'll start posting them on Fridays and throughout the week, so you get a better idea. Of course, next but not least is our 4th go, the CFN retreat, Horwood Lake Lodge. Here's a little snippet of what you can enjoy. Yes, it is. It is going to be in August 14th to the 21st, which will be travel days to and from. But we officially get everything started on the 15th, which is the Monday. Usually leave on the 20th, which is the Saturday, sometimes the Sunday, depending if we've overstayed our welcome. No, never. But I do know that there are still spots available there as well. But they'll start to fill up pretty quick. So I'm going to suggest to you folks that if you want to go, you might want to book it now. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge, because, and Warren has told me, in fact, it was a little bird that came down and told me that there is a possibility that this might have to go up. It might have to increase in price, obviously, with everything that's going on in the world. It's par for the course. It has to happen. But Warren and Doris have said that they will honor that price that they quoted to you already, but you got to book it sooner than later. And that date is going to be coming. I want to say it's going to be in May that we may have to make a decision of whether it's going to be the whole camp or maybe just selected cabins, depending on occupancy and the number of people that are going. But I do know we're more than halfway. By how much I don't know, but all I do know is the prices that are being quoted now are only going to be quoted for a couple months. So you might want to jump on that and make sure it's booked. Don't be the last minute, because then you're going to be paying almost what everybody else is paying. So be quick about it, be nimble, and get that done. Last but not least, of course, we have this going on up at beautiful Camp McIntosh, right along the shores of the French River, where it flows into Georgian Bay. Fishing is very good here, especially if you like smallies and pike. This is your place to go. There is all kinds of grass flats and beautiful contour. If you've ever fished Georgian Bay, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This is an angler's delight. It's an angler's dream, and it's a good place to house a few fish. And the smallmouth, and just the sheer numbers of smallmouth that I caught in just a weekend with a bunch of buddies when we went up to this place was probably the most I've ever seen in my life. So again, don't take my words for it. Go there and experience it for yourself. In September, this will be the third weekend in September that we are going to be getting together for an OFC Nation retreat. First ever for OFC Nation retreat. And the good folks over at Camp McIntosh are going to be housing us. So that's it for all of the announcements that I have. There's many more that are upcoming. And if I have missed anything, I'm sure you guys are going to put it in the comments, birthdays, anything. By all means, make sure you post it, because I've already forgotten it. And up next is our first and sexiest panelist that we have each Monday. Just don't tell him or his head's going to explode. Our good buddy, Big Jim McLaughlin. But here's a word from our sponsor before we get to Jim. I still think we need to get Big Jim knighted.
For what?
I would have to agree. I knighted for something. I'm not sure what, but you know what? I'd say you're due. Yeah. Jim, how are you this fine Monday evening?
I'm just busted up, buddy.
Yeah.
I am busted up. I am waiting for the call from these doctors. This physiatry stuff.
Yeah.
I tell you.
Well,
what it is, though. You just keep plugging away.
We're kind of looking for answers for you as well. I know that the show season last weekend took a lot out of you, and we really appreciated your efforts and your time.
And you know what, Scotty? It's wonderful for me to get out and do what I do. I think we talked about this last week. For 30, 40 years, I've been shaking hands and kissing babies. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And I say that with no joke. It's like it's what you do. And when you're denied what you do, and how many years have I got left to do this, whether I like it or not? And I just got robbed for 2. So it's fortunately everything went well. I couldn't believe the number of people that took the time to message me that were at the shows and said how much they liked the idea of me being sitting on the stage in front of them, involving them, as opposed to being up on a tank, reeling a bunch of lures through, talking about them. Yeah, you learn something, you see what the lures do, but it's just different. I think when people see the, like the different aspects of the stuff, you let them put it in their hands. You get them to help you do a demonstration. It's back to the old fireside chat deal that we always talk about, So it's
100%. And Jim, a lot of that comes from the years of just trusting you. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't recall you ever coming on anywhere in a magazine, whether it be a TV show, and talking about something that just didn't work or you didn't like. Like you come on and you give the straight goods, and not just because you're here, but you're going to hear it. And folks, I'm telling you, even before we go live, Jim doesn't hold back. If you
one little thing
about something, just ask him; he'll tell you.
I'm sitting here today, and I'm saying I'm looking at the stuff's been coming in, the new stuff. So I get 2 of the new cranks. It's basically the same crankbait, just a different size. These ones are the what are the numbers on them here? The 50 and the 63. So the 50 is the smaller one, the 63 is the bigger one, and they're shallow. They're more for large mouths. Mike can eat them too. But I'm looking at the 2 of them, and I say to myself, see the way the belly hook hangs down on this one?
Yeah.
And then I say to myself, why does the belly hook on this one attach ahead of it?
Good point.
So now I have to know, and I don't know why. And I bet you there isn't a person in North America hardly could explain that to you. It'll take somebody that works with the lures to really explain that to you and tell you, why it's like that. I noticed something else really cool too. They've used the exact same eye system that a lot of lures have used over the years, is down and in on the peel. I don't know why they do it like that, but they do it like that, and it's pretty cool. But I'm really happy to see this stuff coming in too. And I think we mentioned the World Crank last week, and it's got the flash boost in it.
Beautiful.
And this thing's good for 12 feet, and it's only 2 7/8 inches long, so it's not that long. But it has that.
Oof.
That's the jet boost ball. A little ball shoots to the end, so when you cast the lure, it doesn't tumble, and you can actually see it in there when you look at it. But you know what I mean? You don't have to shake these things. That's what I was telling people. They're at the Sportsman Show, and I had 2. Where are they? I had them right here. I just took them out of the box. I had a couple of them here just taped together, and I was telling people, I'm showing them to them, and I'm telling them, they're sitting there going like this and everything else. I said, no, hold it as still as you can.
Still going.
That's why I just can't wait. I know Bernie Schultz told me this morning, he was fishing at some place in a World Crank. He just crushed them. He crushed them. And he said it was almost always, because it's getting to that time of the year there where it's starting to warm up a bit, but it's still as cool as it's going to be.
Yeah.
And with the bait sitting still for a second and it doing that, the number of times that he set the hook when the bait was sitting still was crazy. And it's because of that. But if you're into walleye fishing, I mean,
yeah,
you like casting cranks or trolling them, that right there is.
A technique that I saw, Jim, and I'm not sure what your answer is going to be, so I'm going to hold off until I hear it. But speaking of crankbaits, of course, river season is just upon us. If folks aren't out in the rivers already, they will be very shortly, because that's usually where most softwater seasons start, is in the river first, for most, not all. Something that I saw, and I can't say I've ever seen myself, but someone was diagrammed, it wasn't a photo, was diagrammed using a planer board. Have you ever used a planer board in a river to get to wherever it was that you were hoping to get with your lure?
Do you mean casting?
No, just letting your planer board go out with the flow of water, and then reeling it in to where
let it go over to where you. Yeah. I have not done it. I have seen guys do similar things, and we used to use 3-way swivels, and like sometimes a 2 or 3 ounce weight, and we would reel with a 3-way swivel. We would have the weight hanging down to be maybe up to 3 ounces a lot of times. And off the back, we would use great big giant F-18 floating Rapalas, the big floaters. And we just let them sit in the current. So they're just sitting there doing this in the current. They're just
Wow.
doing nothing. The sinker's on the bottom, then we'd move it 4 or 5 feet, and we'd change the length of the dropper to the sinker. Because in colder water situations, fish are not always, but generally speaking, if you're going to start, you're going to fish closer to the bottom. That's
Yeah.
the reason why you see. I noticed some of the guys last week there were down in the Detroit River. They're just showing walleyes. Just it was nuts at them catching them, and they're catching them on jigs and right along the bottom.
Yeah.
Because in the colder water and the heavy current, the fish are still somewhat lethargic with the water. It's probably in the high 30s, low 40s at the most there. And I don't even know if it would be that warm yet, except in some shallows or something maybe. But the guys fishing with jigs, and that's what's going to work because the fish are down there, and there's no better presentation down close to the bottom than a jig. It works. That's all there is to it.
100%. And the gentleman that I thought would say yes did. Ed McKenzie, he has used them before, and I kind of figured he would have. But I wasn't sure if they would spook the trout or not, or if something above them like that to cast that much of a shadow would be, I don't know, intimidating for a fish. But when I saw the picture, I thought, I don't know why I didn't think of it.
You know what? I knew some guys years ago when we used to work at Fishing Buddies, as we mentioned earlier before we went on air here, and I forget who it was that made them, but they sold a little plastic planer board that snapped together when you bought it, came flat in the package. It was about maybe 6 inches long, and it snapped together and went on the line. And they used to use them for taking lines in close to shore.
Yeah.
They would troll, mind you, they're trolling the planer board. They're not using it sitting, but they would use these little planer boards early in the year, and they would let them go in close to the shore. And I don't. Once again, it comes back to the same old thing, Scotty. If fish see something over top, it's not moving fast. It's just going along. I don't think it really bothers them. The number of fish that I've seen swim underneath my boat, and I drop a line down and I see them shoot out. I told you the muskie story about the one underneath the boat. Took me 15 minutes to catch it. It must have hit the lure, I don't know, 8, 10 times. And it wasn't a little fish. It was like a 45-inch fish, like it's a fairly hefty fish. It's a 20-pound plus fish.
Yeah.
And it would be underneath the boat, and you would stomp your foot in the boat, and it would shoot out in the open water and look back underneath the boat. 2 seconds later, you'd see it shoot back in. You'd start doing a big circle with the lure or a figure eight again. And you just, out of the blue, he'd just decide he was coming out and take a whack at it. And eventually I caught him. But, so they don't know what a boat is. It's just overhead cover. And I'm sure if it was making a lot of noise, it's a different thing. But I mean, how many muskies do you catch out of prop washers? Where if you happen to be, like the lure is right there, and you see the fish come in, I've only seen it once in my life. Mark Thorpe has seen it a lot. He's told, they've caught some fish that are, high 40-pound class.
Yeah.
You're sitting in the water and all you see is that big white mouth just come rip it in full tilt. The boat is what attracted them.
It is. It's a great point you make. And if anybody wants, because if you're like me and have never seen it done from shore, although it makes sense, especially if there's lots of current and enough current.
Yeah. I can see
the YouTube link.
Yeah, that's why I thought of these little ones. They used to come in bright orange and sort of like a limey, greeny chartreuse color. It was probably Gibbs or somebody like that put them out, a West Coast company. And I'm sure that where they used them was on the West Coast for all the steelheading in the bigger rivers. Because that people don't realize. You think a lot of guys steelhead fish in Bowmanville and whatever. You want to see them on the West Coast. It's a whole different game out there. Like they may not have the numbers because they don't have the population.
Yeah.
But man, oh man, the size of the fish in some of those rivers and guides that they were using pink worms out there before they knew what a pink worm was here.
100%.
Yeah, it's something that's gone on for a long time. I got something else that really cranked me. I got in one of the boxes that was back ordered. It came I got the new Bantam.
Oof. Ow.
Got all kinds of stuff. It's got that the MGL spool, which is just like it's so super light. It's nuts. It's got core solid, so the one-piece body plus it's a Hagani body. So we're back to that. I mean, there's no adjusting the body. It's made, and that's the way you get it. I hear these guys go, "Oh yeah, well they have to file them and buff them and clean." No, it's just like our gears. There's no buffing and filing. I've opened up reels and actually seen marks in cast gears where they've been touched up. You can see the marks plain as day. I've seen them in lots of things. And this has the micro module on it too, which is just so cool because one of the things years ago they discovered at Shimano, once again, because they build their stuff in their factories. The finer the gear, the finer the teeth in the gear, when they come together, the less chance of any play or movement.
Makes
so
sense.
if you look at a Shimano gear now, like you'll get dizzy trying to count the I don't even know what they're called, the little grooves in the gear, the teeth or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not a technical guy. That's
hey man, it's technical enough for me.
I take it high fish with it and tell you if I think it's awesome or not. Does the job. They get a kick. I think sometimes they get mad at me. I had the odd note kicking around, so I remember some of this stuff. But no, it's when they brought these back a few years ago, it was just absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. So it's something you can see out there too, and it's not that big. It's a beautiful, beautiful reel. I love the finishes they have on them now.
Yeah, looks amazing.
It's it's so plain. Like they're not worried about all the etch, make things look. It's what's inside that counts.
100%. It's kind of like us, Jim. You and I. It's what's inside that counts.
That's okay. I got a reel from a guy today. I told him, I said, drop it off at the house. I'll be at Shimano next Friday, like this Friday coming. I'll drop it off for you. And I said, now before I bring it to them, write a note, put it in, tell them what's wrong. And he said, well, I don't know what's wrong with it. He said, it isn't working anymore. And I said, okay. I said, have you looked at it? He said, no. So I get the reel, and he's got his phone number. I phone him. I say, hey, I won't say names, but I said, it's Big Jim. I got your reel. So it's safe because he didn't want to leave it here. So we picked a little spot and he left it and I got it. And I said to him, you sure you didn't have it apart? Because the two screws on the side of the reel are absolutely stripped. Because you used the wrong screwdriver to try to open it a few times. Like I was just going to have a quick look myself. I don't know that much about them, but I know a little bit. And he says, oh, well, yeah, maybe one of my kids or my dad tried. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's going to be the classic example of he took it apart, put it together wrong.
100%.
Because he said he opened it. He told me that he wanted to clean it, and then I thought he said he didn't open it.
Well, I'm sure there's some springs or whatever lying around.
Yeah, some little. It's like when the guys used to come into the stores with the brown paper bag, the old lunch bag, and there'd be a hole in the corner, and you'd hear the pieces falling on the tile floor.
Good times. Speaking of reels, Jeanette, you had Jeanette had a question last week about her St. Croix medium light 2-piece rod. Jim, last week you were saying to put the Noski 3000 on my new 2-piece St. Croix medium light. I wanted something light. Would the 5000 be better?
God, no.
You're definitely going to go the other way.
That's way bigger. If you do anything, go down to a 2500 or possibly even a 2000. Yeah, 5000 is a pretty big reel. But I don't own a 5000 reel. I don't think I ever have. That's a fair sized reel. Like if you're going to do some serious pier fishing or something like that, like I know the guys fishing the Great Lakes and they want that giant spool, so they get a lot of distance when they cast, and they're trying to cast 150 feet or something.
Yeah. Sprockets. Mike Howard has corrected us. They're called the sprockets, not the teeth. Yeah. Tony's asking. I was going to ask if it's anti-backlash, because I'm sure we.
No, it isn't a DC, but it does have. I'll show you how it's adjusted.
Luke's saying a 5000 series reel is okay for carp. Yeah, Luke, you would be 100% correct.
Yep. So there's how you adjust your reel.
Yeah. The teeth, those we'll call teeth, and the gears we'll call sprockets.
I wonder if that's the name they use in fishing. I never heard. I've heard the word sprocket. I know I've heard the word sprocket because of bicycles.
Bicycles, yeah. I don't know if it's the same in fishing, but there's some good questions so far tonight, Jim. One of your best questions, of course, was the hook placement on your crankbaits. Got some really interesting answers. One,
I know it's something to do with balance.
Balance, yeah.
Oh yeah. No, but wondering. It's just I've never seen that before.
No.
That you would have this. It's the same lure, just a half-inch difference in size. And you can see this one. Wait, where are we going? You can see the difference plain as day.
Yeah.
One's out of it, and I know that's got something to do with that long body in the front. That's what gives that distinct roll that it gets. It's just so cool looking. I really can't wait to use this stuff.
Well, put up your hand if you can't wait to get out on the water.
Well, it's not even just that. You know me, I'm a crankbait.
100%. And of course, Christina will help take that off your hands if all she needs is you to take her address down. Anyway, Jim, as always, my friend, each and every Monday, thanks so much for joining us and spreading some knowledge, some 411, and getting us ready for some open.
Hey, you coming to Gagnon sale on the weekend?
I don't know if I'll be able to make it this weekend, but I'll you know what? Let me call you.
Yeah, I'm gonna be there Friday afternoon. I'm gonna set up the table and tie some jigs, as I usually do on Friday evening.
Are you gonna do it inside? Are you gonna be tying inside?
Yeah, they set me up at the end of the counter, same place. Got a little fold-up table. I bring that little leaf. I'll put a vise on it, and I just bring a box of odds and ends and whatever, and tie up some jigs, and then I'll stay over there on Friday night, and I do it again in the morning till maybe about 3 o'clock, and then I'll be home before the streetlights come on.
Well, we might come then maybe on the Saturday. Mark?
Actually, I should say before the street light goes on.
Yeah. You know what, Jim? We might just make it to that. And what would be great is if we could somehow feed you some fish. So Steve's going to be there Saturday. Let's say we'll be there Saturday too.
I should ask. I'll ask Justin.
Yes, we will definitely talk about this.
I'll talk to you in the morning.
All right, dude. In the meantime,
everybody have a good night out there, right? Be well.
Stay classy, my friend. Thanks so much for all you do, bud. You take care of yourself.
That's an insult. Okay.
Lawrence is up next, but here is a word from our sponsor.
Gotta love Shimano products.
Gotta love Shimano.
Gotta love Shimano. Have my Shimano hat here.
Gotta love Shimano.
Gotta love Shimano.
Gotta love Shimano.
Gotta love Shimano. Shimano bag right here. Gotta love Shimano.
Gotta love Shimano.
Gotta love Shimano.
Shimano rules. Just using my new Shimano Convergence I picked up on the weekend. So, hey, that's a bonus.
Gotta love that new Shimano Symetra RH.
Gotta love Shimano.
Gotta love Shimano. Show off your Shimano pliers.
You gotta love your Shimano. Oh, what I say?
Always gotta love Shimano. Got my Shimano 2500 HG FX right here.
Shimano rules. Fish on, guys.
Oh, Lord, there's a little bit of max headroom going on.
Not bad, man. Not bad. Yeah, I love that. I love that ad there for Shimano. That's so cool, right?
Yeah.
Keeping it real.
We had to play it twice. Absolutely. You know, and our community is just amazing when it comes to putting stuff like this together. Not only, of course, Mike and our editing team, but of course, all the folks that take the time to shoot stuff like that. Yes, it is part of how they register a fish legally with our CFN fish off, which is not quite open. I saw some of the comments in the comments section asking about, can you sign up for the fish off? Not yet, but very, very soon. So for all those who are looking to get involved in our spring edition tournament, it's a busy one. It's a popular one. I can't wait. Now, while we are getting ready for that, and I would say there's some people that are probably walking the shorelines of some of their rivers. Lawrence, you're asking them to keep on the lookout for something.
Grass carp. They're one of the Asian carps, you know, the 4 Asian carps, the black, the big head, the silver, and the grass. And the grass carp are the ones that now pose the biggest threat to our ecosystem. There's been some individual carp, grass carp spotted in the Great Lakes. A couple tributaries on the American side of Lake Erie have shown up spawning and reducing grass carp in those tributaries. So Yeah, we need to know how to spot these grass carp, and I've been working pretty close. Well, Bluefish Canada's been working pretty close for the last month with the Invasive Species Center, the Asian Carp program, and just on a whole bunch of different fronts around invasive species. But for the last 2 weeks, it's all been about grass carp, and we made a few videos, so we got one of them queued up there with you.
Absolutely. So just in case you're like me and you're not 100% sure what a grass carp looks like, or maybe, the sexual preference, what it eats, what its diet is, Lawrence is going to lay down some knowledge. Have a listen.
Grass carp can consume up to 40% of their body weight in aquatic vegetation each day, laying waste to vital fish habitat. It's important that anglers know how to identify invasive grass carp. Grass carp possess a short, narrow dorsal fin compared to the much longer dorsal fin of the common carp. Grass carp possess no whiskers or barbels at the corners of their mouth. Common carp have a sucker-shaped mouth compared to the much stronger jawline of the grass carp. The eyes of a grass carp are low on their head and in line with their mouth, whereas the eyes of a common carp are located higher on their head. Lastly, grass carp have a long, slender body, whereas common carp are more deep-bodied. If you catch a grass carp in Ontario waters, note your location, take a photo, and report it to the Invading Species Hotline at 1-800-563-7711. For more information about invasive grass carp, visit asiancarp.ca. For more information about fishing sustainably, visit bluefishcanada.ca.
Great video, Lawrence, and some great message in there for all of us when it comes to grass carp. And, obviously we know why they were introduced and how they got here. If in fact they were an invasive species, if they came over in ballast, if they just crossed over because there's a chink in the armor, however they got here. All carp definitely are under scrutiny and under a magnifying glass because, of course, they're hated cousins to the south, although that's not where they originated from. That's where the major population of them are. Of course, everybody's concerned that they're going to be making it into the Great Lakes, but, like grass carp, they're an issue that perhaps maybe a lot of anglers don't know. What's one of the biggest things that we're worried about when it comes to some of these species of carp making it into our waters, Lawrence?
10 of them can mow down a hectare's worth of vegetation, right? 10 carp can take out an entire hectare's worth of weed beds. And these things get to 5 feet long, up to 45 kilos in size. That's like close to 100 pounds, right?
Yeah.
And they're only small for a very short period of time. So as far as anything going to eat them up, it's only a very short period of time that there's anything out there in the Great Lakes that can actually eat these things. Even muskie, at some point, they're well past that edible stage by predatory fish, and then they just turn their eyes on our vegetation. So you take out the weed beds, you take out all that the wetland, the weed beds, and all that spawning habitat, all that nursery, all that forage area for the bigger fish, and walleye, perch, pike, muskellunge, there's walleye. There's so many different species of native fish that are going to be just lost because of the loss of this habitat. And these guys are lawnmowers, absolute lawnmowers. They not only eat the stuff, but half of it, they don't even digest properly. So they're pooping it out, and it's just sort of digested plant matter that now becomes nutrients and turbidity in the water. So now you've got a major contributor to blue-green algae. You've got a major disturbance in the water. It's getting all dark. So that means less sunlight penetrating down, less chance for vegetation to grow back because it needs sunlight. So they're destructive on many, many levels, these guys.
And with the muskie symposium going on I believe it's next weekend.
April. First weekend in April. Yeah.
This is a discussion topic that has been high on their list of concerns for some time. Is habitat loss. And would you say that carp are a major contributing factor, or more than half of the reason we're losing those spawning grounds? What would you say, Lawrence?
Well, I just was reading a report put out by the Department of Ministry of Natural Resources and so on and so forth. it wasn't a report that they wanted to release, but it was pulled by access to information. And we lost a lot of wetlands in the last 15 years in Ontario. It's just not protected, right? It's just not protected as it should be. And when I'm talking wetlands, I'm not talking just swamps, that kind of wetlands, marshes and things like that, which are vital to restoring our aquifers, right? That's the sinkholes where the rainwater and the snowmelt collects and goes back into the ground. I'm talking wetlands along the coast, right? Shorelines. And that is 95% been hardened with riprap, with concrete, with cement, with all sorts of other hardening kind of non-erosive kind of projects that people do. And Department of Fisheries and Oceans is starting to clamp down on that. And I've been involved with a few workshops with them to develop some new regulations. And it's still not nearly aggressive enough to stop this hardening of the shorelines and this paving over of the parking lots, right? I mean, that's the problem, is we're losing these shoreline wetlands. 95% of it is gone on the Great Lakes. So then you bring the grass carp, they get in there and they're going to chew through the remaining bit. And what do you got left, right? What do you got left?
Well, some would say that there's not enough of them in some of the waters that they fish. Craig is saying bring them to Erie. We need more bait fish.
They're in their Erie already.
Mark wants to see more, I think, in Frenchman's Bay, where I thought there was a good population of them already, but not enough for Mark, perhaps, and obviously not enough for Craig out in Erie. But as you said, there is quite a population of them, and what you don't see in carp, you're definitely going to make up with freshwater drum. So you definitely take your pick. But if you want more information, Steve has done a masterful job, as he does every week, posting the link. If you do catch an invasive species, there is a center, there is a hotline, there is a direct email link, as Steve has posted. And also, you can use the MyCatch app. The beautiful people over at Anglers Atlas have allowed folks to enter fish that might not even be partaking in a tournament, just to spread a little bit of information on that body of water that you're fishing. And perhaps you do catch an invasive species. Lawrence mentioned it in the video, who to contact. You can also just submit a fish on Anglers Atlas to get the same result in the MyCatch app. So lots of ways to report your catch. I have a question for you, and I don't know the answer to this, so I'm going to leave this all up to you, Lawrence, and you're going to hate me for it. But how do they taste? Is it worth talking?
I don't know. Look, common carp were brought over here in the 1860s, and they're another Asian carp species, right? They're more related to the goldfish though than they are these the black and silver and big head and grass carps, but they are a carp, and they were brought to the Great Lakes, to North America, to sort of take the place of the missing Atlantic salmon, because the Atlantic salmon populations had been sort of ruined a little bit. They'd been overfished, and so they said, well, let's bring in some of these common carp, and there'll be food for all these East European migrants that were coming to North America, coming to Canada, and they brought them in for food. But for the longest time now, common carp were not edible. They were on the fish consumption advisory as unedible because of the amount of toxics they were bioaccumulating in their body mass. But just recently, I think in the last 2 years, that's been reduced now. So you can try, and there's lots of East Europeans that still live and come to Canada and love to harvest these fish and enjoy eating them. Gefilte fish, right? It's a traditional Jewish food as well. And but you cook them in a sauce. You don't cook them on a shingle, right? I mean, the old recipe of you soak a cedar plank, you put the carp on there, you cook it at low heat for 30 minutes, you flip it over, cook it for another 30 minutes, and you take it out, you throw the carp away, and you eat the plank.
I had a feeling that's where you were going with this.
My mother's always bugging me. I love catching common carp. And by the way, that question about the 5,000 size reel for carp fishing, if you're fishing a smaller pond where you're catching 10, 15 pound carp, you'll be okay. But if you're going out to St. Lawrence or out of Hamilton and you're going after the 30 to 40 pound carp, you'll need a size 12,000 or 14,000 reel. You'll need about 350 yards of 80 pound Power Pro. And even then, there's no guaranteeing you won't get spooled.
No, 100%. And for all those who have fished the North Shore of Lake Ontario or all the shores of Lake Ontario as well as Lake Erie, you'll know exactly what Lawrence is talking about. Because when that 30 or 40 pound carp takes off, let's just say, hopefully you've got a lot of line and you haven't got too many people fishing around you, because it becomes a solo event.
It's a freight trade.
Yeah, you're literally on your own. They are an awful lot of fun to catch. But eating them was not something that I grew up doing or grew up. I never even got exposed to it. But let's be honest, there is a delicacy, or there is let's just say there's an appetite for carp from folks from different areas.
Like we grow fin fish here in North America, right? The salmon in our aquaculture industry. The number one species of fish that's grown in aquaculture is common carp. The number one around the world. If you look at all the aquaculture industry around the world, common carp is the number one most grown fish in aquaculture, and it's for the Asian marketplace.
And who would have thought? To be honest with you, I wouldn't have thought that. I thought it would have been shrimp. You see the number of small ponds that they've got set up for shrimp. I would have perhaps maybe said rainbow trout as a very close second. But you're saying carp. That's really interesting. I did not know that.
They can live in all sorts of conditions, right? Rice paddies and things like that. And they're pretty hardy fish. They can tolerate warm water. They can tolerate turbid waters. They root around, so they're always sort of eating bugs and things like that could destroy your crops. So they're sort of a little bit crop friendly. But that's the number one most popular aquaculture fish in the world. I think at some point, it might become someone's going to figure out how to cook these in Canada. I don't know if it's going to be on a barbecue. Like I said, it's kind of fish you stuff on the inside, and then you put into a sort of a pan, a baking pan with lots of sauces and things like that, and you sort of cook it as in the sauces to. I guess because they could have a little bit of a weedy or muddy flavor, right? Because of all their foraging.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, I'm not one to, as I said, if somebody has a great way of preparing it, whether it's smoked, I know some folks like to have it smoked, and it's been mentioned here by Mike. Heard it's good smoked. I would be willing to try it. It's not something that I would sacrifice an entire fish on, because I'd hate to waste anything, whether it's invasive or not. I don't know, hard to see myself wasting a fish for one bite if I find out that I don't like the entire fish. But if you've got a great recipe, I'd love to see it. Love to share it on Cooking with CFN, because let's face it, and I was wrong. Mark Bennett was saying that there was just way too many of them in Frenchman's Bay. So if that's the case, let's maybe share a recipe so that we can get folks in on.
I think he's probably thinking common carp, right? Not grass carp.
I would imagine, yeah. There's a searchable link. He's on it in terms of the leaderboard and raised organisms in Canada. So if you are interested, like we are, to find out more, absolutely. Phelan, how you doing? Good to see you, Faye. As always, Lawrence, our segment with you always runs very quickly. There was a lot of information that was shared there, and I know there's lots more upcoming in Bluefish Radio. Give us an idea of what we can look forward to in the next 7 days.
Okay, so Bluefish Canada news just came out. There's some great stories in there, as well as an interesting bit of information that our guest editorial at the end on winter kill. Right? How do you explain winter kill? We all hear rumors about winter kill. The ice comes off, and a couple weeks later you see these dead fish, and you think, what the hell happened? Well, there's a good article in there from a biologist, and so check that out. And if you register, if you sign up for the Bluefish News, the Bluefish Canada website, your name will be entered, in a contest to win some pretty cool prizes. So yeah, come on in, join up. We're not going to sell you your email list to anybody. Don't worry about it. You'll just get news from us every 2 weeks. That's it.
Oh, that's awesome. Right on, brother. Well, thanks so much for joining us again on Monday. We look forward to seeing you again next week. And in the meantime, you stay classy, my friend.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you having me on.
Right on. Here's a word from Jay's sponsor before we hear from the one and only Jason Barnucz. Have a listen.
Want to know the difference between power bait and other soft plastics? Ask the fish. Berkeley scientists have thousands of flavors tested on thousands of fish. Natural, man-made. Every bait that's ever hit the water. No matter the shape, size, or color, power bait is the only one that is scientifically proven. Fish bite and will not let go.
J-Dog in the house. How you doing, Jay?
I'm doing good, Scotty. How are you doing?
Oh, buddy, much like you, busier in a one-arm paper hanger, but
I hear you.
Persevere. We got to get stuff done because there is a softwater season, and it's right around the corner. If it hasn't already beckoned on your door already, there are folks, they're teasing us, but they're not teasing us. We're living vicariously through them.
I know. It's such a tough time of year, Scotty. I was talking to a colleague at work today, and she's also a lover of the outdoors. And I was just saying how, maybe I have a case of the Mondays, but I'm just like, geez, like it's just blowing snow outside. My buddy who's commuting today sent me a video of him driving. Thank God I'm working from home still. I won't be for long because I'm going to start, my busy season starts again. Right. But I'm glad I wasn't commuting today because it was like whiteout conditions by Brantford, it's March 28th. Like, come on. Like I'm going through my Google photo drive and I'm looking at pictures from this week last year. And I was sitting in the sun catching suckers at like 10 degrees Celsius, right? Like I'm done with this. Let's go. I realize there's 30 inches of ice in some places. Happy for them. Keep on fishing. I'm ready to switch it up and I can't. So it's kind of depressing.
It is depressing, but and the shows last week didn't help that. There's a show on this past weekend in Ancaster. We've got the Muskie Odyssey that's coming up. There's a whole bunch of shows that are certainly whetting our appetite, and not to mention, of course, social media and all those wonderful folks down in the Windsor area that are showing us that the migration of walleye, the annual migration of those walleye is on. Maybe not in full form, but at 38 degrees, I believe Sarah put up there, it's not too far away.
Yeah, it's right around the corner. And to be honest, once looks like even us in the Southwest here, once we get through, looks like Thursday, we're going to get 14 degrees and rain, not a whole lot of rain, but our normals for this time of year is around 5 to 7 degrees. So if I could be normal, which I'm not, but if we could have normal temperatures, 5 to 7, I'd be really happy with that. So, but you know what it's done is, it's, and I was talking about before the show about this, sitting down with Trevor and actually planning out the fishing season. One thing that a lot of us are guilty of this, whether you're a 14-year-old fishing fanatic or just the average angler trying to plan your summer, we have to sit down and you got to kind of plan it out a bit. Where are you going to go? What do you want to fish for? And some of that involves time, it involves money, and all those things are so important. So I think I actually have Trevor in a notebook right now, writing down things he wants to do this year to fish, and then what he wants to do, projects like, he got a kayak last year, but he's got work to do on his kayak. And as a dad, I don't mind helping him with his work, but I'm trying to give him the ability to, here's what I need to buy, Dad. And he's working now. He's got a couple part-time jobs on the go, although grass cutting has not picked up yet, of course. So, but I know he's got money coming in shortly. So, but as parents, we don't mind helping him out a little bit, but I want him to write out what he wants to plan for the summer, because you can imagine every day he comes at me and it's like, Dad, I want to do this. And then the next day it's a broken record. And I'm like, didn't we just talk about this yesterday? So I said, start writing things down. So it's been good because he's learning all about how to, but not just what, we're not talking rods, reels, and lines, Scotty. We're talking like spare parts. If he breaks a prop on his kayak, he needs a new battery for his for his fish finder. Things that he's not usually thinking about, but these are things that I think about a lot. Maybe it's because of the nature of I do for a living, but always having those emergencies planned for with spare parts and spare equipment that you need and things like that. God knows I don't need any more rods and reels, although you can't ever have enough. But definitely worth planning that out. So that's what he's working on, and I think it's a good lesson for all of us. It's a good time of year that we can't do much right now. We're in that in between season, but it's a good time to kind of plan your summer out a little bit.
It's never not a good time to do exactly what you just suggest. And, it brings up an interesting line of conversation that I have with Bill White every year in regards to a special lake trout place that he has out on Simcoe. And he said to me, now, Scotty, I want you to say yes, but I don't want you to say yes because that'll make me happy for a week. I want you to say yes and pick a day. So it kind of reminds me of that because I do. This weekend was a perfect example, living vicariously through our community and all the wicked photo edits that were shared and redone by both Steve and Walter, but just the CFN community as a whole. We live vicariously through the Barnuczes as well as the rest of you. Because let's face it, not all of us have the ability to get out when we'd like to, and we're kind of glad that you folks do.
Well, one thing I'll say is I'm going to give a shout out to the Ontario Kayak Bass Trail, because Trevor's keen on exploring the realms of bass tournament fishing in a kayak, and so him and his fishing buddy Owen, they're going to participate in. They have 1 day or 2 day events happening regularly through the summer, but they're going to be using. They have these 1 month challenges, right? So you can participate in those anywhere you are in Ontario. So they're going to be participating in those challenges to learn how to, because it's not just catching fish, right, Scott? It's how to measure the fish, how to photograph the fish, how to organize yourself. So I said that's a great way to spend your summer. And there's enough events that it's basically the whole summer is an event because it's just back to back to back to back 1 month events starting it goes July, August, September, October. So I think that's a great way for a couple of teenage bass heads to spend a good chunk of their summer. And I'm just going to throw a link in the chat here for the Ontario Kayak Bass Trail, because if people are looking to either fish in a kayak bass tournament or to even just not even the 1 day events, the big events, but they have a few happening. In fact, they have one happening in May up in zone 9 or 10, whatever that bass zone is up around Sudbury.
Yeah.
There's one happening up there. But they have a lot of great events happening. And if you just don't want to travel and you just want to participate from where you are in some of their monthly challenges, that's pretty inexpensive competition.
And Jay, correct me as I've been known to be wrong before, but someone was mentioning to me that, of course, with the popularity of kayaks and tournament angling, they finally have met and we've had kayak tournaments now for years. But there's so many of them.
Yeah.
There's an awful lot of money. And I don't know if Trevor's right next door.
I'm going to tell you right now, there's a big event that just happened this past weekend, which I'm learning. I'm kind of learning all about this now because of Trevor. So I've dabbled in the kayak fishing realm, but I'm kind of jumping in with 2 feet now because I'm bombarded with it constantly. This past weekend in Lake Santee Cooper, the Hobies had an open tournament. 200 anglers from across North America, and a gentleman by the name of Nathan from Stratford, Ontario, won it, $10,000. He caught over 96 inches, each day. So each day, basically he caught 5 20-inch bass each day for 2 days, and he won the whole thing, 10 grand US from Canada. Just one.
And this is exactly what I'm saying. I mean, there's an awful lot of money wrapped up in kayak angling, and it's something that if you're looking to be competitive, you may not want to share the boat with someone else, Maybe you fish better by yourself. Who knows? If you have not tried kayak angling, I think it's something you should try because it truly is a different kind of fishing.
Well,
but also,
and I think what's important, Scotty, is this is the time of year to think about these things, because if you're going to start planning your summer, you want to be prepared for these things. I'm going to give a mention here to there's a lot of overlap here in these two links I've just posted, but the Ontario Kayak Bass Masters is an online bass fishing club that's linked to the Ontario Bass Nation. Okay. And they actually have a series of events this year as well.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them is their championship. And if you qualify in the top 10% of that event, you go to the Bassmasters Kayak, basically the Kayak Championship or Kayak Classic next year in Tennessee, next March.
Oof.
So, you know what? It's a few weekends of your time, and it's a great way to spend time on the water. And God knows, even kayak fishing for me, we were talking about dieting and calorie counting and stuff, and I think that kayak fishing might actually be a benefit to me. So, but I'll say this to get Trevor to, and I just saw Dave's comment here about very helpful group. I've had him emailing the organizers asking them about, okay, I'm only 14. How can I fish in these events? Well, and they've replied right away. You got to sign a waiver, get your parents involved, because I'm trying to get him to be an advocate for himself, right? So listen to me being the hard-headed dad, eh? Jeez,
love it, man, love it.
But he's getting his own emails. He's organizing himself. I'm making him organize himself and get his summer off and running. And we're doing that right now, even though it's March 28th.
That's
what we're
hilarious.
thinking about right now. So, and
Jay, true or false? Is
Yeah,
the bass fishing terrible in FMZ10?
I believe that George Morgan is a fibber and a liar. Okay, because I've seen a lot of pictures on George's Facebook page. He loves spiny rayed fish with big mouths. Okay, and big mouths and not very big teeth is what he likes. And every time I hold up a bass, he likes to compliment me. And every time I hold up a fish with an adipose fin, especially an adipose fin, I get accosted, publicly on social media from George. So anyways, the bass fishing up there is quite good from what I've heard from George. And as much of a jerk as he's been to me, I know that there's always an invitation to go fish with George.
There you go.
It's all just friendly banter amongst the
There's
fish
the
heads,
silver
right?
lining.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So,
That's awesome.
yeah.
Well,
But hey, I was just thinking, like, even this weekend too, right? The Muskie Odyssey's coming up, and it's a great reminder for people. And I want to just tell people, you don't have to be a muskie person to go enjoy the Muskie Odyssey, because I think just looking at the vendors who are going to be there, I'm going to drop a couple links in the chat. I think just the vendors who are going to be there and the speakers, it's worth going. I know a colleague of mine, Davin Heinbuck, he's presenting at 12:15, and he does a great, I think it's 12:15, no, 11 a.m. He's doing an overview, and I heard a similar talk on Zoom last year. He's the conservation director for Muskies Canada. And Davin's going to be sharing probably a lot of information about, they have this great muskie log program, and that muskie log for Muskies Canada, all that data is entered, that's shared with M&R. It's helped with muskies management across Ontario. And Davin's presenting with that. So it's really going to be worthwhile checking that out. So I'm thinking I might go on Saturday, man. I'm really thinking about it. And it's not something, I haven't been to a Muskie Odyssey in years and years and years, but I'm probably going to go.
I will say this, if George is there, hopefully you meet up with him, because he's talking some serious smack now.
Oh, yeah. Of course he is.
Yeah, he says you're always welcome, but not sure if you are used to 5-pound smallmouth bass.
Dude, Lake Erie is 20 minutes from my house. How many 5-pound smallmouth do you want to catch? Fives, listen, man, George. Fives are what 4s used to be. Okay, we're talking 6s now. Okay, if you want to show me a 6, then we're talking. I'm just kidding. I'm happy to catch any size smallmouth, but 5s are definitely in a category that I prefer. Now,
100%.
I don't want to leave I know I've been jumping around here from bass to muskie, but I want to get back to Steve's comment way back. I saw it, Steve. I'm not forgetting about you.
Yeah,
okay,
no,
Steve,
I have it propped here as well.
Thank God. Steve, so I got 2-day access to a smaller creek to fish browns this spring opener, full of log jams. Water's typically dirty. Do I try row spinners or just row? I have to go barbless. Okay, Steve, I'm going to tell you right here. I fish a lot of woody filled streams around here, and it's basically sand and wood. There's some gravel for spawning, but it's sand and wood. That's what I use, man. Right there. Panther Martin. This is the number. I'm going to double check. Number 4. Because the Panther Martins are a funny, they're a funny spinner. They're not, that's like a size 2 Meps, but a number 4 Panther Martin. So a number 4, maybe a number 6 Panther Martin. Number 2s are a little too small. I say those for the brookies.
Yeah.
But it's a yellow body. It's got some red on it. Okay. And that, can you see it there? Yeah, right there. So it's got like a hammered gold blade, but they also make a hammered silver. And that's pretty much all I use. And the classic Panther Martin, Scotty, it has a yellow body with like red dots on it. Okay. With a silver blade or a gold blade. I've had some luck with the black body with the gold yellow dots with a bronze blade. But I'm telling you, a number 4 Panther Martin. I even spoke to, I'm going to give a shout to Natural Sports. I was speaking with John, who's one of the managers at Natural Sports, and he personally called me to let me know that he stocked up on Panther Martins again this year because of me last year. Because I ordered so many Panther Martins off Natural Sports last year, they had to restock their shells because I told John I was honestly reselling them down here, but I wasn't marking it up. Like I had other anglers, moms and dads with kids who wanted to go trout fishing and want to know what they could use. And I'm like, right here. So they had me placing orders, and then I was delivering Panther Martins all over Norfolk County last year. I'm not even making it up.
I believe it. I believe it. And that's the beautiful thing. And part of our charm as an angling community is we don many hats. We wear many, many hats. Sometimes we are the educator. Sometimes we are the scientist. Sometimes we are the shipper, the provider. As I said, we wear many hats. And there's one particular item that I will have not too far out of my eyesight when the soft water season starts up. And I'm going to share that with you in a second.
Well, and so add to that, Steve. So Steve, you said average is 16 to 22 inches. So you're going to want to go probably, I wouldn't go ultralight, man. When you're fishing in those places, you want to go with probably a 6 foot medium light or like light at the most. Medium light I prefer because some of those big browns in that wood, you're going to put the boots to them to get them out. You just really want your drag to slip a little bit so you don't rip those trebles out of their jaw. So you want a little bit of slip on the drag, but you got to get those fish out of there. I'm running 10-pound braid most of the time for brown trout fishing when I'm throwing hardware.
And with it with the water that stained, I can't imagine that they would really know or see the difference.
No.
16
those big
browns. Wow.
Those big browns, if in those streams and those woody filled streams, they're total ambush predators. They're hiding out, and what they'll do, Steve, is when you pitch. A lot of times I'm underhand casting, so I'm pitching to a log jam, and then I want the lure to stop in front of the log jam, land, and when I close my bail, and what's nice about Panther Martins is they have great startup spinning, which means and I have no sponsorship with them. I just use their stuff. When they will spin at a very slow rotation, so you don't need a lot of flow or a lot of speed in your retrieve to get them to start spinning. So I'll basically make an underhand cast to a log jam, and I'll let it flutter down for a second. I'll close my bail, and I'll let that spinner spin. And quite often, Steve, what they'll do is the bigger ones, if they don't hit it right away, they'll come out and they'll follow it. And you might have to change your retrieve or change the color of your spinner sometimes. And don't be afraid if you miss a fish, because that happens, like a short strike or whatever. Come back to that fish later. It'll reset up and come back again. And I do that all the time in the small streams where I fish. I'll go back to fish that I seen, either I saw it follow my lure or I missed a strike. As long as it didn't catch a lot of metal in its mouth, I'll go back to it. No problem.
Jay, if you were to make the cast 100 times, how many fish would you say you get on the fall?
On the fall?
Yeah.
Are we just talking fishing in general?
Just no. With those Panther Martins, how many? If you cast it 100 times, how many times do you get hit on the fall out of those?
On the fall, probably half the time. A lot of times, I don't even have to engage the reel. It's just that fluttering in front of the log jam or in front of a boulder or whatever you're casting to. Most of the streams, again, I fish. These aren't babbling, rocky filled streams. They're not. They're like slow moving sandy creeks with lots of wood and rock. And just the action of it, flicking it out there. And sometimes too, with spinners and trout, they want it a certain way, man. Like, like you'll have here's my water bottle. So the picture, that's a boulder in the middle of the river. Okay. And that fish wants it right here, not out here, not out here, not up here, not over on this side, right there. And sometimes it might take me, so I'll make a pitch to that spot. I'll see the fish, took a swing at it, didn't touch it, but it might take me 4 or 5 more casts to replicate that cast again to that exact spot. Sometimes they will not move to get something. They want it right on top of their head. It's amazing how finicky they can be some days. And some days they don't care. Some days they just kamikaze it all over it and off you go. So
I posed the question to Jim. I'll pose the question to you. I know you put up a couple links. Have you ever used a planer board in the river?
I've not, but I've seen that video that I shared is with Eric Hajat, and he is from, man, he's got some cool videos. So he does a ton of fishing in Milwaukee Harbor for salmonids. So George, if you're listening to this, you can just fade out now because you don't want to hear this. So it's mostly browns and steelhead. And a few, obviously, Chinooks and cohos. And so he fishes for them year round. He has great ice fishing videos. But what he was doing was in that video is he had, and I should have gone and grabbed one. So I have a couple of mini planer boards in my back room that I've used on Quinny in the fall, right? But typical small planer board, okay? He's clipping his lure on. He was using Berkeley flicker shads, like a 7-inch flicker shad, like a medium-sized one. Basically, he cast it out along a long break wall. So picture a long break wall, cast it out. And instead of retrieving it, he clips on his planer board, then starts walking, lets line out, and he's basically trolling the break wall. But in some of these U.S. harbors, I'm thinking of the Milwaukee Harbor. I've been to Sandusky Harbor a few times over the years. You can literally walk a kilometer of break wall. Like if there's no one fishing, you're literally strolling the break wall, trolling your crankbait or your spoon on a planer board to get it away from the wall. So instead of casting out from the wall, you're running it parallel to the wall, and technically your bait is in the fish zone longer. So it's a great setup. But all the piers around here are like 100 feet, Scotty, 200 feet. I couldn't do that around here. I've heard of it in rivers though too. We're using the current to pull the planer board out on like a level wind reel. I've seen that done in a video, but I've never actually attempted it myself.
So there's a lot of white and brown noise going on to much to the chagrin of David and George when it comes to talking about trout. But you know what, Jeanette, you have asked the question that I am just about to ask our buddy Jay. So with our species specific theme coming up in this new year, we want to do exactly that. We want to talk about what we're fishing for in that time of year, keep it current. So with stream fishing, if folks aren't doing it already, they're going to be doing it very, very shortly. Because as we do know here in Ontario, they have started to run the rivers, the rainbow trout and steelhead, that is. But yeah, Jay, I would say going forward, we'll keep your species specific.
Yeah, let's do that.
We'll definitely start on steelhead next Monday.
Yeah, well, we can cover, and we did a little bit tonight, but we'll cover steelhead, Scotty, and we can do browns, and we can even do brook trout. Of course, you're going to get my my Southern Ontario flair to it, but I think anything that I'm talking about here can be used on stream trout just about anywhere. So George, don't tune in until like the 4th Saturday in April. We discussed at supper tonight. 4th Saturday is opener for us down here. So you might want to, not saying you don't want to tune in, but I'd hate to educate you with a lot of good trout information, but maybe.
That's awesome. Right on, Jay. And you talked about Muskie's Odyssey coming up this week. Anything else coming up in the real angle?
No, you know what? I just really hope to get out and do some fishing this week. I need to get some suckers for some cut bait. Channel cat season's coming up. My best day of channel cat fishing last year was the 2nd week of April. That's only 2 weeks away, really. So I just need Mother Nature to get her meds right. That's all I'm asking her. Like, please, Mother Nature, get on your meds.
With all due respect, absolutely, Mother Nature, please. These extremes are incredible.
Channel cat fishing, and I got some new spots I want to check out. And I didn't enter. There's actually a catfish derby being run out of London area right now. But you know what, Scotty, with the way the weather is, it's nothing's shaping up anytime soon. And you know what, the price of gas, man, I don't feel like driving to Chatham to go catfishing right now. There's a lot of stuff close to home. And that's going to be the flavor of this year for us here is we're going to, Trevor's got his kayak now, and we're going to fish closer to home. And we're going to make the most. Dude, we have so much good fishing around here, but sometimes I just wander other places because I can. But I think this year with the way gas is, I'm going to stick close to home. We have so much good fishing right around here. As long as you don't mind the species. It may not be what you prefer, but there's some great spring pike fishing that I haven't taken part in a long time. So that's something that's definitely on the radar soon. We just need Mother Nature to get going. So 100%. We'll talk. All right.
Right on, Jay. Well, listen, as always, dude, thanks so much for joining us each and every Monday. If you are tuning in next Monday, you're going to learn a little bit more about steelhead, as that will be the first show of many that Jay will be talking about some stream water action and how we're all looking forward to that soft water season, which is just around the corner.
Sounds great.
Right on, brother. You take care. All the best, Jay. And last but not least, this will be my 411 for tonight. If you are fishing or plan on fishing this soft water season, I can guarantee you this: you won't want to go out without trying this at least once. And when you do, try it on your plastics, try it on your hard baits, try it on spoons or anything else that holds scent but won't hold scent. And you'll understand what I mean, because when you pop the lid off this, you're going to smell nothing, absolutely nothing. But it has some incredible, attractive qualities for fish. I have not seen it firsthand. We are definitely going to be doing some videos with this, but that is my 411. Pick some bait fuel up today. If you like scents, you're going to love this one. It's not greasy, it's water-based, and it doesn't smell bad. In fact, it doesn't smell like anything at all. Try it. You'll appreciate it. You'll know what I'm talking about. And last but not least, I can't think of another person better to take us out tonight than, of course, the one and only Dave Mercer. Have yourselves a great week. Love you all. Take care of yourselves. I'll get to all your messages. I wasn't ignoring you. Just a really busy weekend. And you guys take care. Stay classy. And we'll see you next Monday. Peace.
Well, as much as I hate to admit it, I guess we've run out of time. So I've enjoyed it. But I'm going to do something I haven't done since season 1. Turn out the lights. The party's over. They say that all good things must end.